when we were making GLP-1 by SPPS, the problem of the famous genotoxic impurity and nitrosamine was solved by the process itself, because you were purging away in the SPPS synthesis this impurity. Now all this came back to become critical in the fragment condensation approach, because you have the possibility to form nitrosamine and this type of genotoxic impurity during the fragment condensation. So you add the analytics that are typical of the small molecule to control the genotoxic impurity, which on a molecule of 30 amino acid is become a little bit more complicated. So this is a new level that was not appreciated before in smaller scale.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with Matteo that it's very important to keep your systems very stable to reduce the variability in each step of the process. But I'm lucky to be in a company that has more than 100 years of history, producing proteins and now peptides and GLP-1 specifically, because we have been the first one also launched that in the market. So we use a lot of our experience, and mainly regarding lean manufacturing, for instance, where we build our VSM, we map the process, we put the control strategy in place, and then we reduce variability. So in this way, we can move from the lab scale to our big facilities that we have nowadays, producing a lot of API.
And Leo, I do want to talk about lean manufacturing a little bit later in the conversation, but first, I'd love to know from the both of you, when the industry moved from manufacturing more locally to on a global scale, what surprised industry professionals the most? Leo, since you're up, you can go
Yeah.
first if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I think the biggest challenge for us was how to put, because we have a lot of experience with injectables, right? And we have launched the first GLP-1 in an oral form, in a tablet. So this for us was one of the biggest challenges, how to produce in a large scale, because we use much more API on that. But as you said, we have a kind of, global sites that we can uh, work together and use the experience with each other and bring this innovation to the market. So for us was very important to share and make sure that we have the right standards in place.
Well, from my point of view, Novo was already prepared for quite a long time for this. The industry in general, especially the CDMO, were surprised by the speed and the magnitude of the demand. I remember being in my previous company, and we were talking about this, the possibility that peptide will be used for obesity. It's been a long dream. I think Amylin was working on this in 2007 as a protein mixed with a peptide, amylin and pramintide with one of the protein for weight control. And it seems unrealistic that this will happen. Obviously, back then, the problem of overweight, the impact of overweight was starting to appear more clear, but nobody understood the level of this. Or the people who knew understood the level of this risk, but not everybody. So the CDMO never thought that it was necessary to invest this large amount of money in producing ton level. And as a matter of fact, the first company that I have the impression, the first company that did this as a CDMO was a company who had already experience of producing peptide at ton scale, because they have come from a previous drug in the 2000 that was produced at ton scale. And so all of a sudden, you did not have the reactor, you did not have the proper purification, the isolation became an issue. So there was a rush to invest, but it took a little bit for people to catch up with the demand. So there is limited availability of reactors and of purification. Initially, now things are getting stabilized, but it was a big surprise. And also the fact that now the full SPPS is not the ideal situation. A lot of this expertise in solid form and the idea of the different type of impurity you have in this situation are not something the CDMO expected, and so they have to rush to catch up with this new situation. So for this, from the point of view of the CDMO, this is was a big surprise.
And I have a feeling that's going to be a segue to my next question, which is what is one of the biggest bottlenecks to scaling GLP-1 manufacturing? Matteo, I feel like that might be a continuation of what you were just alluding to, so I'll let you continue.
So can you repeat the question?
Yes, of course. What do you see as the biggest bottleneck to scaling GLP-1 manufacturing?
The bigger bottleneck. So the bottleneck has shifted over time. Initially was the synthesis capacity. Everybody visualized that. Now that you have moved to this way of producing, that the synthesis capacity has been partially solved. I'm not talking about Novo, because Novo has a different set of complexity of making molecules. I'm talking about the fully synthetic molecule has shifted from making SPPS to the fragment. And now that the fragment can be produced in very large amount very quickly, now my impression is that the shift is now to the purification. Purification at the tonne level by reverse phase HPLC is not something people used to do in any situation. You can produce probably insulin at a very large scale and purify insulin, but you have to realize that the purification of insulin by reverse phase HPLC is a polishing step, is the final step. Here, instead, the purification of GLP-1 is a more demanding application. And so now my impression is that the new bottleneck is the purification and the analytical associated with this purification. You have much more, you have to implement higher, tighter control. We are talking about now multi-million dollars per batch at the scale at which this is operated. So there is a big impact and a big challenge analytically to verify that you remain in control with your processes, that your impurity profile remain constant over time. So the analytic and purification for me is the new bottleneck in the new process.
Well, it's a good thing that's what we're here to talk about today. Leo, what do you see as the biggest bottleneck?
For us, maybe it's a little bit different because, we have been building this factory here where I'm in the Clayton. Is a 825,000 feet facility. So it's a huge facility, as we call here, the state of the art nowadays to produce the GLP-1. And you cannot forget about the enabling process, as we call here, not just the core process and the bottlenecks itself that we have in our purification, for instance, as Matteo is describing, but also know how to reduce the footprint and not jeopardize the community about environmental, for instance, because we use a lot of water, we use a lot of energy to keep a facility like that running properly. So we also need to be very conscious on that. And I think I'm very proud to say that Novo Nordisk does a good job in that relate. So when we talk about, for instance, waste management, you need to have a real connection with the town that you are in, the county and the government, to make sure that you have all the infrastructure around you to be able to talk about tons of capacity.
Now, as I understand, continuous manufacturing does reduce your environmental footprint, correct? So I'm curious, could continuous manufacturing become viable for large-scale GLP-1 production?
if I can start here,
Yeah,
we have a
absolutely.
real good example. Actually, more than half of our process, they are what we call in a continuous mode already. So the upstream, more fermentation and recovery, we are in a continuous flow mode, and then we have more a batch cadence for the purification.